Hello, me lovelies. Well, here we are with Sarah Jane Baker again. And what's his name? Jack, is it? No, not Jack. Bob.
Bobby.
Bobby. Yeah, our little Bobby. I was looking at a picture the other day, Sarah, that you posted. Does he have a heart on the side?
Yeah, he has a love heart on his side.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, when he was smaller, he's quadrupled in size.
Yeah.
But it's now fully grown now. But the heart is like stretched out. I'll show you. Bobby won't mind. Look.
Yeah, you can see it's lovely, that, isn't it?
Look, lovely Bob. He's a good boy.
Yes.
We went swimming today in the Thames together.
Yeah, you were saying, explain to people what happened. The story behind that. Why it was a big achievement for you.
Yeah. It's I always wanted to swim. I was always scared of swimming. I almost drowned in the River Thames when I was about 4 years of age. And my dad had a speedboat down there, a power boat. And as a child, I tried to get on the boat, and no one noticed that I slipped between the boat and the bank at high tide, and almost drowned. Yeah. So I've always been dead scared of the water, which is like weird having a boat and stuff. But yeah, I needed to learn. I'm 53 years of age now, and I couldn't swim. And but today I swam. I was able to keep myself afloat
without a lifesaver or the rings.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. I went swimming. I took my dog as well. I took Bob in. Yeah, Bob loved it.
We learned another thing, didn't we, when we were talking? Sarah lives in the area. I went to school when I was a kid doing my ballet.
Yeah, Richmond upon Thames.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Was it the second richest borough in the world or something?
Oh, I know. Look at your living room. You can tell. Look at the size of it. You don't get living rooms like that for cheap.
My living room. Yeah, welcome to my home with my beautiful. Hold on, you can see my beautiful sash windows there. I love them.
Yeah. Oh, they are beautiful, aren't they, sash windows?
I love this home. It's great, and yeah, it's my first home. I've never had a home before. Me coming from care in the prison system.
Yeah.
I never had a home. This is my first home. I've never even had like a bed sit really, like for more than a week.
Oh, but you've got a really nice place there. You have. I mean, people would be fighting for that, Sarah, to get that. It's good.
Yeah, well, the rent is £1,050 a month.
But for that area, though, that's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's bad.
It's okay. I mean, every day we just go down to the riverside by Petersham Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, we just went swimming off of where Ham car park is. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I really feel quite lucky. I feel quite blessed because life maybe wouldn't be so easy for someone who's trans if I was further inside the inner cities.
Well, this is it. Liverpool can be difficult. I mean, this is what saves me about Liverpool. Liverpool is supposed to be progressive, and in a lot of ways it is. But in a lot of ways, it's also dangerous. You have to know where you're going. But
London is dangerous too. I mean,
I know.
It's been it's to my knowledge, there was till just before the lockdown. I was with the amazing Dan Glass. I don't know if you're aware of Dan Glass. He's an activist in London, queer activist and author in London. But he organised a night pride march in London, which wasn't a corporate. It wasn't corporate like Pride was. I mean, anyone who went to Pride, like in Brighton, and was a serious activist or queer activist, whether they're trans or not, would have come away with a really bad taste in their mouth. There was so much police presence, right? Oh, yeah. And I noticed the police, they were taking photographs, right, of activists who were there. They were surveilling. They weren't there protecting the public, which is what they said they were doing, right? They were surveilling. They had surveillance teams out there on the street. One of them, they just kept following me around. I said, "What are you following me for? And why are you filming me? All I'm doing is holding a banner. That's all I'm doing." But everything was corporate. Everything was sponsored by like Tesco and Barclay and.
It's the pink pound, that's it. But one thing that I'll tell you, you know, when you see the police, we do this in Merseyside as well. You see the police on the gay pride marches, and they're all like,
"Oh my God, it's appalling."
But do you know what?
Pride.
Just let's finish this. Tell them what I was going to say. Now they had this right. These bands. Do you know? Very, very few. I'm talking about. If you're lucky, 2 of those police officers will be gay. You might have loads of lesbians, but only 2 will be gay, because simple reason, gay people don't last in that force. It's like a turnstile. They used to say that all the time.
Don't you think things might be improving?
No, I think what it is, it's improved in, if you're a member of the public reporting something. Liverpool is much, much better than the Met. Much better. It's much better than Yorkshire Police.
But I thought the Metropolitan Police had signed up for the Stonewall Diversity Badge.
Yeah, and shall I tell you about Stonewall Diversity Badge?
Do
you know why they signed up for it?
Go for it.
Because they're immune then from Stonewall ever criticising them.
Oh my God.
I got this in the Echo a while
Rainbow washing.
Years ago, right?
Yeah.
I said today, thinking, because I was discussing with Stonewall, I will not support Stonewall. Never will. I've said for years. Get out. It's a con that actually they actually protect and enable big corporations and big organizations that give them donations. Anyway, they kept on saying about this top champions list. I asked them, I said, look, you tell me. It was when Ben Summerskill was there. And at least Ben used to respond, not like this one that they've got there now. She's too high and mighty to respond to the Plateria scum. But he turned around and he said, no one has to pay to get on the list. And so I said, oh, really? So then I asked Sarah the question another way. I said, how many people on the list have not paid a large donation to Stonewall? They refused to respond. So I went to the Echo and I said, that's the truth about them. Everyone pays. And you know what blew them out of the water? When the Conservatives first got into government, after Tony Blair, the Home Office. Now, you remember the Tories were always seen as the anti-gay, anti-LGBTQI party. Within a couple of months, they were top of the list. You tell me that. I said, there's no way you could have checked. There's no way. And so, as I say, everyone out there don't have anything. I mean, I'm sad about this, and it's horrible, this big thing about LGB without the T. I think it's disgusting. But as Stonewall, as a thing, when people say Stonewall, I'd say you're lucky if you're trans that you're not involved in it. You're lucky because you don't want to go near them. It's all money. It's like anything else. You get money involved in it, and it goes corrupt. And that's what happens.
Can I ask you a question, Anne?
Yeah.
See, I've been trying to figure something out. And that's why all these turfy people hate us, right? And I don't mind being hated. I'm pretty used to that. I can take it on the chin, right? But it's not pleasant, right? To just hate me, right? For people who don't even know me. Do you know what I mean? Let them know me first before they hate me.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll take that on the chin, right? But Anne, the most important thing, right, to me after 30 years in prison, it's not being trans. That's the most boring thing about me. Do you know what I mean? But it's about freedom. And I try to hammer that home to people. Do you know what I mean? They see people in prison, right? Now, nobody knows, right, the amount of people that they will know who've been to jail, because people are ashamed to share that information with people, right? But it's really common. I meet a lot of people that when they find out I've been in prison, they just want to tell me their story, right, of how prison didn't work for them, or of how they felt they were warehoused, how their families were destroyed. But you know what? We could do so much better, right? I think the public, for somehow there needs to be like this prison system as a whole needs a rebranding straight away. Take away the HM prison thing, right? If people feel like they're being punished, they ain't going to learn nothing. They're not.
Yeah, but say that we're not talking about prison today. That's the thing. We're talking about being trans, because this is what I want to get away from. Because everyone sees you, and I know that you can pay. That's your campaign. And we
sorry about this sun.
Oh,
Anita, can you pull that curtain past that sun there?
Yeah. And we spoke about it, and we're going to carry on speaking about it another time about it.
Yeah, I was going to say about being transgender in prison.
But this is you as being a person. And because with all this, which is very worrying what's happening. Now, to explain to people, because people always get mixed up with this with me. Can you hear that? I'm intersex. I'm not trans. And people always think that I'm trans. And I explain. So a lot of hate, and this is where I sympathize with trans. And it's trans women that get it. You don't get hate trans men getting it anywhere near as much. And that's why I sympathize with trans women, because I'm always depicted as being, or they put the hate that you will get thrown at you. And that's why I simply ask for this question of why it's hatred. With the TAFEs, you see, there are some questions that people have a right to be concerned about, especially with, it was different in our day, younger days. Sarah, do you remember years ago, you wouldn't even be called, they used to say transsexual then, but you wouldn't be called transsexual or considered trans unless you went through with the full operation. The idea of a male to female still having the male genitalia was a no-no. But now, which is getting people worried, and I can see where they're coming from, women are getting worried about women's places or prisons, is that you've got people saying that they're trans women. They're presenting as male though, and they've got no intention of changing the sex, changing the body. And that's why this thing is like, well, wait a minute, all that a man has got to do is say, I'm a woman, and that's it, the transport. If that's how easy it is, I don't know.
And if a man puts on women's clothing or not and claims to be a woman and enters a woman's space and commit a crime, they're not trans, they are a criminal.
Yeah,
and they should be held to account for their actions. What I'm saying is, a lot of people are laying a lot of stuff right on the door of the transgender community, right? When in any community, you've got a minority of absolute tosspots.
Yeah.
To be kind, who let down the community, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the trans people that I know, they are really they've got no sense of tolerance, and they have absolutely no sense of humor. And I think that I think the best way to combat like transphobia, I mean, because if you just bang more laws out, if you give more laws to people, they would resent it. I'd rather people say, you know what, look, we're really cool people, we're really kind people, and we just want freedom to live our life. And remember, because if you ever need help, come to us. I mean, we're everyone's allies.
Oh yeah, but I think what is said, and this is where the problem has happened, and I can understand where, because there's women who aren't, and I've never been transphobic or whatever, a voice and can say it's over certain things that are happening. It's like one thing I do not like. I don't like it one bit, and I agree with people that it's somehow not for the same reasons as some people are saying, but you know this drag queen story time in the libraries. The reason I don't like that is not because I think, well, what is it's coercion and indoctrinating children. What it is, it's more or less, why not just send in a pantomime dame really over the top? Because that's what they're going towards. Because then the child will know, oh, this is just playtime, and the parents wouldn't get upset by that. But when a man's going in dressed up like that, and they're doing at night a routine in a club or whatever, which is bawdy.
And
you know,
and you know, I love you, right?
Yeah.
So you should take my word for this, because you know me, my heart's pure. You should take my word for this, right? I've been watching this story since the very beginning, right? I see like the application that went into, I think it was to the Arts Council. I think they got £250,000 in funding And first of all, I thought like I thought kind of the same lines that you are. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of bawdiness and that kind of sexualized like behavior. Also, hey, listen, that's what I did. I just generalized. I just thought like, yeah, RuPaul's gonna go in there and convince everybody like, I don't know, maybe to transition. I don't know, right? But yeah, I understand. I'm a grown up and I'm an adult and I've got my own views. But then I see like the books that are being read, they weren't like LGBT books or nothing like that, yeah. They weren't LGBT books. There was no kind of doctrine. It was just they were pretty much like pantomime dames just reading books, right? To the children of parents who had signed it. They agreed with that. It wasn't forced. It wasn't forced. It was a beautiful
That's what I
thing.
said. That's what I said. It wasn't forced. But what I'm saying is,
it wasn't like burlesque in a library of children.
But what I'm saying
the press might say it was, but
if
it wasn't.
you say, look, right, if you turn around and call something a drag queen, right, and show a drag queen show, you're going to get one image in your mind, and it isn't going to be a nun. It isn't going to be a nun going in there, right? So they used the wrong term to do it. They should have said pantomime dame or panto story time.
Then
it would have been better. Because it's also there's some sad ones as well. I was looking at one in America the other day and thought, my God, you could have made an effort. It was tragic. Absolutely tragic. But it's also given the, I say, transphobes, not just transphobes, bigots in general, a reason. And one thing I wanted to mention, because you sort of straight onto the area. Now, one thing that's getting very concerning is I did a video the other day about Kelly J. Keane, you know, trans TAFE, absolutely non-parallel. And the thing is now they're trying to make out the trans women are dangerous to children. We have to be careful what name we use because YouTube will strike it.
They said that about gay people.
I know, but what I'm saying is when you actually look at the stats and you go to these hunter sites, show me where you see trans women.
I know.
That they're stopping. It's always straight men going for young girls. And it's like, this is the danger. They're putting out that rubbish. And it's getting more and more dangerous. I thought after the 80s, things were getting easier. But it seemed to be regressive now.
Keane, sorry.
Yeah.
I've been looking into Miss Keane, right? And I'll tell you why. Because they're really, really mean. They're kind of Katie Hopkins, right? Kind of Alison Bailey, kind of J.K. Rowling, whoever she is. I've been told she's a writer. I was told she's a good writer, so like I'll take people's word for that, right? But the thing is, these people, it's not about trans people. That's a red herring. It's got nothing to do with that. They've got an agenda, right? And their agenda is like to shut down abortions too. It's a right-wing. It's a right-wing movement, right? But they're trying to gather support, right? And people like that Kelly, right? She's raking in a fortune in merchandise.
Yeah.
She's managed to monetize her hatred. That's what I mean.
Because this is
I think her hatred is fake. I think it's just about to generate money, to generate an income for her.
I think what it is as well is I'll ask you this question because I know I have my thoughts on it. You know, when there's a big difference, and I say this, there's a big difference from someone having an opinion that you might find offensive, but they can rationalize it and make it a valid point and say, this is why I think, let's say women-only spaces and going into women-only spaces. If someone can say, well, I'm concerned because blah, 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 and because people who haven't been diagnosed by two doctors are able to say, I'm a woman now, I don't think going in there. I can understand that. But when someone's turning around and like the TAFEs do, and it's just out and out obliteration, you're mentally ill. You're mentally ill. That's what they say to trans people. It's a mental illness and all this. That's when it turns into hate, in my mind.
And
it goes that far.
But you know what? I'll tell you this for sure, for nothing, right? I am either a woman trapped inside this body right? Or I'm mentally ill, yeah?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm both, right? But that doesn't matter because I'm not going anywhere and I'm a citizen of this country. Do you know what I mean? I pay my taxes like everybody else. I deserve the same kind of respect and I expect the same kind of I realize I have the same kind of civic responsibility to other people, especially like in my area where I'm standing for member of parliament at the next general election. Do you know what I mean? I understand my civic responsibility, but see, society has responsibility towards me as well. And to ensure that me, as a citizen of the crown, do you know what I mean, is ensure the same protection that any other person, is it in this country, apparently. But it would appear that we're just the bogeyman. Do you know what I mean? That's who we are. Everyone's picking on us, right? Because it's an argument we can't win. You get stopped straight away, right? When people say, "Well, is a trans woman a real woman?" Well, I wish that was so.
Yeah,
I wish that was so, right? But I'm not going to get into the semantics. I'm not smart enough. That's above my pay grade. But all I know is it doesn't matter whether I'm mentally ill or whether a trans woman is a woman. The fact is that I'm still here, and I'm still just demanding the same rights that any other member of the public in this country should expect.
Well, when people go on about this mental illness issue as well, you get people saying, "Oh, it's mental illness." Well, I'm sorry if they're going to say, "Well, God, what's happened to my camera?" Yeah, if they're going to say about mental illness, I've always said the danger about that is that a lot of them. There's one fella who goes around. I won't mention his name because I'm not going to advertise his channel. He's a horrible thing, and he goes around all the demonstrations, but he's definitely trying to say that LGBTQI people are coercing and trying to indoctrinate vulnerable mentally ill people and all this, and children are being exploited. First thing he'll start screaming, I'm on the spectrum, I'm on the spectrum. Now, if I turn around to him and said, well, you're invalidated because you're on the spectrum, so go away, you don't have a right, you can't talk and all that, you don't have a right to exist, he'd go mad. But this is it. They're saying it to people who are trans, you're not, it's a mental illness and all this. But now sometimes, and I have seen this, said Jane, I have seen this happening. And that's where I've met, it was striking one was a female to male trans man I met. And I say trans man, and why I'm falling over my words, because it turned out to be quite a horrific story. When she was convinced, I'm going to start calling her she because she starts seeing herself as a she. She was convinced she was trans, and I never forget, I was working in the probation service, and I saw this, what I thought was a man walking in, and he stood by me, and I thought, oh God, I'm sure he's got breasts. And so I never said it, when you don't like saying it. So I turned around and I said to one of my co-workers, I said, who's that? I said, who is he? Because we didn't even know who he was. And so we went, she. And I went, she? And so he said, yes, she. Said, me aunt. And I went, oh, and just left her at that. But then I thought, I've got to ask here what's going on, just out of curiosity. So I found out her sister worked with us. So I said, look, I'm going to ask you straight out. I said, instead of asking behind your back, I said, I thought your sister was a man. I said, she's the most manly looking woman I've ever seen. And she said, yeah. She said, what it was, she was convinced, she went through hell as a teenager and she was convinced she was trans. She went through all the hormonal treatment. They said she got a uterus taken out. Said thankfully she didn't get breasts reduced or anything like that. But she said before, because she was going to go for the full operation, she suddenly decided, no, she said, I want to be a woman, or I want to live as a woman. But she said at that time, she said all the damage had been done. And she said the years of hell we went through, she said, with her when she was going through this period. And I thought, this is where you have to be very careful to say it's different. If someone's gay, lesbian, whatever, and then they get to a point where they think, actually, gender fluidity or whatever, or I'm going to go back to being heterosexual or whatever, if they ever were heterosexual, that's going to have no lasting damage. But when someone's trans, if they're taking hormones and taking this, that, and the other, it's irreversible once they've got to that point. And I think that's where we have to be careful. And I think that's where a lot of people are panicking when children are involved. Because if the child, and this is what I want to say about drag queen story time, this is another thing I don't like it. Children love anything colourful and anything bright and anything jazzy. And if they see the parents, ooh, isn't that lovely? The child will think, oh, that's how I get the claps and all this. And that's where I think you have to go on very careful ground with children. You have to let them develop of their own time, normally, naturally, and not make one specific stratification seem exciting or colourful or wonderful, because they'll start thinking, oh, I'll get that attention as well. That's the way I say it.
And listen, right? I think you're gorgeous, right?
Don't start saying that. Just say what you've got to say instead of butting me up. Say it. I can take whatever you could want to say.
Right?
Yeah.
You are onto something, right? You hit these topics which are trending, right? You hit them bang on target, right? You're hitting them, right? I know it's trending at the moment. It's the stuff we're talking, trans stuff. It's the biggest news in town, right? But the thing is, I'm from a different generation than a lot of these younger people that I know, right? A lot of these younger kids, they don't even think like me. I don't think like them. They're used to this social media. Drag queen don't mean nothing. They grew up with RuPaul on their national television.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When I was a kid, it was Itsy and Bitsy, Andy Pandy, and Thunderbirds. So I mean, that was it. It was whether it was like, well, Pipkins wasn't exactly like, it was a bit freaky that, but like the stuff the kids are exposed to today, especially on social media. Drag queen story time is not likely to like corrupt like loads of people, especially when the parents, do you know what I mean, took their kids there, and apparently they had a really great time, and everybody really enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? Except the turfs outside, like kicking off, which is like their right. If they want to protest, like do it. Do you know what I mean? There's enough trans people out here to like. There's more of us than there is them.
Yeah, but they say drag queens. I don't see them as being trans, though, unless a trans person that wants to be a drag queen. No, it's like an act, isn't it?
Yeah, but you understand. For some, it's like cis people acting. No, I do understand that. But a lot of the people that I know who are drag kings and drag queens, I mean, they're doing amazing work out there in the community, and I mean, I'm not saying like promoting diversity is like should be the be all and end all, because I think entertainment's cool as well. And queer people, we've always dominated the entertainment industry because we're amazing and we're wonderful. We think outside the box. Society should try and should try and embrace us a lot more. I mean, we have a lot to offer. Do you know what I mean? We're creative people. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, no, I see that drag queens are adult entertainment, aren't they? I understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I'm not just gonna like sweep it aside and say, well, all I can say that it's up to parents how they educate their children. If they pay to take their kids bowling, or if they pay them to watch I don't know, a beautiful drag queen. So I mean, just reading a book, maybe the big hungry caterpillar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. And come on, Anne, right? I'm getting on a bit. I'm 53 years of age. You know what I mean? I let these kids crack on, man, with their life. Let them listen. We messed it up. Let them have a chance of messing stuff up. Do you know what I mean?
We adults.
I understand people have to be protected. Children have to be protected. You know, but like. I think parents are doing a really sterling job under really difficult situations.
I don't.
I mean, I want to make Britain more queer.
But what it is, parents now, the vast majority, I think that's why the country's in the mess it is a lot of the time, because you've got children, selfish, demanding children in adult bodies having children, and it's not a good mix. Whereas years ago, you know, there was the thing, you had to go out, get a job, provide for your family. Men and women, people forget this. I think it was just men were expected to go out and get a job. No, mothers were as well, had to go out and work. But yeah, all that's gone now. There's no responsibility now. It's just like, I'm going to have this, and if I don't get it, I'm going to take a tantrum. And the way some parents talk in front of the kids, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, trans people, drag queens are the least of people's problems. It's the way they act as parents, a lot of people, that you think that's where the problem is. Your kids going to end up having every door closed of opportunity in the face if they learn from you. That's the way I see it. Anyway, what's it? Yeah, just let's say this. Easy Bake Snowflake. Yeah, you weren't blocked. If you're talking about here, you were timed out because, especially when you use the term like snowflake, I'm going to be watching to see what you're going to be going on about, because I'm not having you putting any insults through. If you want to get off an insult, wait a minute, if you want to get off an insult or anything, just go somewhere where people will laugh at it, because it's not the scenario for that. But you're lucky because I've just blocked someone. So you weren't that offensive, but I have just blocked someone for being very offensive. But there we are. Forgiven. Carry on. Go on.
Hello, man.
Yeah, go on.
Easy Bake Snowflake. They're a friend of mine.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I'm embracing them as my friend.
Oh, you're embracing them.
Yeah, on Instagram. They're amazing. They're a really amazing person, right? And I'm just showing them that we're cool people and that I'm not going to cancel them out or nothing.
No, I thought they were saying something, but I didn't block your snowflake. And anyone will tell you, usually end up down block.
Hey, listen, I think they're absolutely amazing. So I mean, and I believe like they're into. I mean, snowflake. Come on, I was in 30 years in prison. I could handle that.
Yeah,
I consider being called a snowflake like a privilege.
I know.
And as long as I can upset John Cleese with my wokiness.
Do you know what gets me though, Sarah? Right? It's no snowflakes are the people that call other people snowflakes. If you dare say it and that they disagree with, they go absolutely furious. But anyway, let's get back to your personal experience. So to let people know, explain your trans journey. That's the only way I can. When you realised, or you first got to say first concept. Wait a minute, I'm in the wrong body here and that.
Yeah. When I was about 6 years of age, living in South London, I mean, I didn't identify. My dad wanted me to be like a boy and be kind of like macho and strong and like alpha male kind of type. Maybe because he wasn't. My dad was short and fat and really weird, right? But God bless him, he's dead now, right? So anyway, I had no idea I had no idea you could be like. I don't know, maybe a girl trapped in like a boy's body. It didn't matter whether I was mentally ill or what. I started to believe this. So, I mean, with ferocity, and I mean, all through the prison system, back in the 70s, back into the 80s, where I become a rent boy after being on the run. Now, I know some people try to make this link, right? And they say like, yeah, but people who are maybe exploited and abused as children, right? They're not really trans. It's that abuse which has done this to them. I mean, I understand all these things. No, I knew what I was doing. I knew these. I didn't like know that these old men who were having sex with me, taking advantage of me. I didn't know. I didn't see them as being like criminals. I couldn't word that. So, I mean, like I'd always been abused. I mean, whether it was my dad or someone else, you know. But then obviously, I mean, I'd been in gay relationships. I'd been in relationships with lots of other women. But I thought, you know what, this stuff inside my head, it's not going to go away. Do you know what I mean? And it just increased until 2011 when I was in prison, as I think most of the viewers here know. But like, Yeah, yeah, I was. I mean, most red boys that I know will get attacked. So I mean, they will because you're vulnerable, and one of the worst things is that, like, especially like some other men, like after they finish with you, do you know what I mean? They feel so like ashamed. They want to hurt you, do you know what I mean, or frighten you into like silence because they can't admit like they just got off on that, especially if they were drunk. Or especially like the morning after when they wake up and they look at you in bed beside them and they're like, they can act, man. If anyone ever finds this out, they'll be shamed, especially in their own communities and stuff, right? But I mean, and then the prison system, you wasn't allowed to like officially identify as transgender till 2011.
Yeah.
I mean, so when the prison system brought out this PSI, Prison Service Instruction, the care and management of transgender prisoners, which had like a little contract that you sign. I mean, you only got a few advantages for being trans in prison, like a plastic bowl and the right to wash your own clothes, to wash your own underwear, and maybe the right to have your own cell. But I mean, if you're trans, I mean, you really should be in your own cell because, like I say, sexual abuse against the trans community in prison is rife, as is sex work. As is sex work too. That's rife in the prison system, especially like with amongst trans people, especially cis prisoners too. Yeah, prison's weird. Anyway, until my castration, because the gender identity clinic, they saw me twice. First time I saw them, I think it took about 2 years to get to see them. Then the second time I saw them, and then they took me off of their books. They said I'd have to enroll their idea of what a woman was. That's how they expected me to display to the world for a minimum of 2 years outside of prison before I'd get any kind of hormones or some kind of treatment for my gender dysphoria. I mean, counselling would have been great, but when I was in prison, logistically, it would have been a nightmare. But in the end, I did my own castration in prison because that's how bad my gender dysphoria was. So people, Kelly J or Keane or Alison Bailey or J.K. Rowling, what they said, you know what I mean? But the thing is, I believe, do you know what I mean? And I believed or whatever, because sometimes my belief varies, my sense of identity varies sometimes. It's not fixed. Do you know what I mean? Nothing's fixed about me, right?
Oh, wait a minute, Sarah. Here's Kelly J. Keane's fan club here. He was on. I suppose everything she says and does. So it'd be enjoyable to see what he comes up with. Go on.
It's a prison. It's prison, not a prison. Yeah. It's a prison, not a holiday camp. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, right? I'll say this to anybody. Like, say, 75% of prisoners are not in for any violent offences. You could get them out of prison straight away, right? You could find alternatives, right? And most of them people are in jail because of crimes of poverty, right? Because they don't have enough food or they don't have enough drugs, right? Rich people got enough money to buy food and drugs and have a roof over their head. So, I mean, the thing is, people do need to contribute to society. They do. Do you know what I mean? You can't be expected to just like sit there and just take from society, not put into it. But like I say, like as long as you're not a physical danger to another human being, I mean, why would you be put in prison for 30? Why would you be put in jail, right, for like 30 grand a year to cost to the state? Do you know what I mean?
Well, this fella said, we'll go over this, Ed.
You
can tell what type he is. I'm allowed my own opinion, aren't I? You're allowed your own opinion, but what you've just turned around, and I'll say what carries in your opinion, is that one, you said to me after watching my video, you agree with everything Kelly J. Keane says, right? And Kelly J. Keane accuses all trans women of says that the vast majority
monsters
are dangerous to children, as in they actually do sexual things to children That statistically is not true. It's heterosexual men going after young girls that do. So when you say you agree with that, and she says you're agreeing with that, which isn't true, and your statement about the prisons, you said after Sarah just explained that she was sexually violated. And I'm going to be speaking to a young lady on Monday, hopefully, and she'll let you know how she in 1 week was violated multiple times, a trans woman. So if you're agreeing with that you should, if you get raped in prison, guess what? Do the crime, do the time. You're not a very nice person. So
but the thing is, see, they're half right, right? Let's meet them halfway and show them what it's like to be an adult, right? Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but don't be mean. Don't be mean. There's enough mean people out there, right? We could meet them every day. And sometimes that mean person is us, right? So don't be mean. And let me tell you, putting someone in prison for 5 years on a naughty step, right, is not going to change their behavior. It's going to make them resent stuff, right? Their families will probably be destroyed. Their chances of future employment, right, will be lessened even more. Their chance of getting decent housing, so I mean, will be depleted just by their criminal record as it stands. But the thing is, this costs the public money, and it costs victims trauma. That's what it costs, right? So you might have someone who's out there and he's a heroin addict, right? And he might need £400-500 a day. Now to do that, he will do enough crimes, do you know what I mean? And maybe steal £10,000 worth of goods, do you know what I mean? And he might be lucky to get £500 for that. Do you know what I mean? But it's also the trauma which is associated with them goods. I mean, the people they were taken off, maybe them things were sentimental. Do you know what I mean? A lot of this thing could be stopped with just saying that, maybe drug addiction is like maybe a mental health issue. That's what I would argue. Just like alcoholism, I think it's a mental health issue. But I also think that I think a lot of crimes are a mental health issue. Some people are really not well, and I've met lots of these people in the prison system who can't even read to the age of a 5-year-old child.
And say that this is the whole problem. That's why I cheered you last time when you ended on the thing education. Now I said last time someone pulled me, so I'll adapt to what I said. Right, there's no reason, on God's sake, in this country, in the UK, unless a child is being neglected by the parents, not getting support by the parents, got a hungry belly, whatever. There's no excuse for someone coming out of school not being able to, unless they've got, say, dyslexia or something like that, not being able to read and write. There's no reason. It's just that the parents don't see it as being a priority half the time. And that's where everything falls to bits. So if they do crime, I mean, if someone came to me now as a judge sitting there and they said, oh, well, I didn't do well at school, but there was no, mental issues or dyslexia or anything there. Though dyslexia, I say that isn't a mental illness. It's a condition. It's not a mental illness. But that certainly doesn't affect your intelligence, dyslexia. But if they said to me, oh, well, I'd say, well, what do you want? I'd say, what do you want? You want to be treated in another way than someone who did do well at school. It's like you're on a level playing field, and that's where the difficulty is. But if someone's got there is going to be mental health issues. I've seen it. But when it comes to drugs, and this is what I've always said, you don't know whether someone's got mental health issues or not when they're using drugs. They have to come off the drugs. And that's the problem that they faced when I was in probation. Yeah, because before you can mentally assess someone, they've got to be drug-free. You can't assess them. And that's the problem. You can only assess them when so they can't say because they're on drugs that they're mentally up.
And I'm not going to sit here and just like, I'm not going to come across as being like a whinger and a crybaby, right? And minimalizing stuff that I've done, But come on, life is really hard. You know what I mean? It's really hard.
It's hard for everyone. Say to Jane, it was worse years ago. It was worse years ago. I get fed up with people saying this, you know. Oh, yet some people have, and I'm not going to downplay relative poverty, and you've got to look upon that relative poverty. What was poverty now, in some people's estimation, when we were growing up in the 70s? Wasn't poverty? You'd be absolutely flushed if you had things that people have now, big tellies and all that. But it's relative speaking. But the fact is, people can't keep on saying, oh, look, I'm living in poverty, right, and all this, to get away with things like they couldn't years ago. I was saying, I put up a post the other day, I don't know if you've seen it, Cookies in the chat, where I put up this video of an Indian woman, and she was talking about the splitting up. She was around when Pakistan and India split into two. Split into two in the 30s.
Partition.
Yeah, partition. And she saw her mother having her head cut off, and she saw a hell of a lot more. She went through horrors. Now, back in those days, as I was saying, if you turned around and said, oh my God, I'm suffering from trauma from what I saw, or I'm suffering from PTSD, you wouldn't be listened to. It'd be like, get on with it, or starve, or get on the streets and beg. And people used to go from disaster to disaster to disaster. And I think what it was, Sarah, a lot of the time, until a concept takes hold, it doesn't become a reality in a person's mind. So people didn't have the concept, oh, I can be mentally ill. So they literally got on with it. They just, a disaster would happen, move on. They weren't after compensation. They weren't after someone to put the blame on. Nothing. They got on and got over some of the most horrendous things that happened to them. The only thing that was recognised eventually was, which actually became PTSD, was shell shock. Now, if you see what it originally was, shell shock, to what they call PTSD now, they're miles apart. I mean, shell shock was really severe, very, very, very severe, disabilitating. You couldn't put a sentence together. But I think what it is, you have to be careful of the mental health label, because now, thankfully, we do talk about mental health, but also it's become an excuse. I'm mentally ill. And it's like, yeah, I used to get in the police, you get someone coming in. They'd say, you know, one fella used to come running in, I was well used to, and he'd go, I'm going to do this, because he couldn't get the response he wanted. He'd say he was going to go out and do this to this person and that person, and I'm mentally ill, nothing can be done to me. And I'd say, got cameras, mate, I can, because you've just said it, you're fully aware that you're doing wrong. So I said, and he'd never do it, he'd just go off in a huff. But this was the thing, it's the, when I see it, the only time mental illness can be used as an excuse is when someone really hasn't got what they call in law the mens rea, the guilty state of mind. When that doesn't come into it, of course, you've got no mens rea. You've got to have the actus reus, the wrongful act. If you don't have those two, you haven't got a crime anyway. But the alternative of that is that they're insane. They're judged to be insane. And that's illegal. Before anyone says it, that's a legal definition. It's not a medical definition, insanity. They're going to be locked up anyway. Actually, it's worse to be declared insane than what it is to be just guilty of a crime. You best go, because you'll be held up longer in a mental institution or a mental prison. But they call them institutions, but you're still locked up. It's a hospital, isn't it, that you're locked up in? But yeah, well, that's me explaining. I'm supposed to be interviewing you here, and I'm talking away. But anyway, Sarah, let's get back onto your journey, and how you raised who you are today in this beautiful living room, which I'm so jealous of, and this beautiful area you live in. How did this all happen? And you becoming you as an activist as well.
As an activist, well, I was in prison doing 30 years. I can't say why I was in prison. Anyone can Google me, but make sure they get the right. My dead name was Alan Baker. People can find that stuff, right?
You're on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah, but make sure they get the right Alan Baker, because there was another Alan Baker who transitioned. It was in for horrendous stuff, and sometimes people confuse them with me. I mean, yeah, don't put that stuff on my door. You can find enough stuff out about me. My life's pretty much transparent. But yeah, transgender activist. I gave a speech at Trans Pride. 30,000 people. The police told me there was 30,000 people at Soho Trans Pride this year. So I did a bit of chanting, walking up Oxford Circus, and it's a Soho Square where I give a speech. I gave a speech last year with the amazing Anita Downs from Workers' Liberty, this organisation in London. But she supports Dykes for Trans Rights. So I got at Soho giving a speech. We were at Pride the other day with our banner to keep cops away from Pride. And another Dykes for Trans Rights banner that we had.
I saw that.
Yeah. So we do so also like Kill the Bill protests, Extinction Rainbow Rebellion, because I'm in Extinction Rebellion and HS2 Rebellion about the railway line we're trying to shut down, or just we're trying to make things difficult for them, right? We got issues. We're inviting mentalists. You know, we're not perfect, but you know, there's a lot of stuff we believe to be like criminality involved in this, and it will go to the courts in the end, and the truth will like come out. But I also do art. I've got a piece on exhibition at the moment in the Brighton Museum. I've exhibited at the Turner Contemporary, Westminster Central Hall, on the South Bank.
And you're a musician. You play the violin.
I'm a concert violinist and the guitarist. But I mean, I also have a clarinet here. Yeah. I have a flute, and I'm sitting by my piano. I'm sitting by my electric piano now because we had a real piano, but they wanted £750 to move it to this flat. Says no, I'll get a really good like electric one. But most of my time is like or graffiti or trans activism. I mean, but also like a lot of the activism I do is mainly connected with Extinction Rebellion. So I mean that especially the group that we have called the FINTS group, female, intersex, non-binary, and trans.
How many sex people do you have there?
I mean, well, I don't know because we don't judge each other. We just judge each other by can you make a banner? 2, can you hold it up? And 3, if the police come.
I'm glad you said this, right? Because this is another issue, right, which breaks out about with the tapes and all this, and this LGB without the T thing. Right, I'm intersex, you're transgender. Now, someone has argued, and I can understand the argument here, that actually intersex people and trans people shouldn't be classed under the LGBTQI because we're not sexualities. I was born.
I should have my own special category.
That's what that's what I was saying. I said what it is. I said the problem is. I said it's not meant to be we're only for people who have sexuality. It's inclusive of all people that are suffering prejudice, isn't it?
I think like. Right, listen. Right, I got my tongue firmly in my cheek at the moment. Right, so I hope you're gonna forgive me. Right, give us our own special category. Right, let's call us the I don't even know what we'd call it. Right, let's have our own thing. Let's have toilets just for trans people. Right, but we'll make sure we have better toilets than the cis people. Right, we'll make sure we have better toilets than they've got. I tell you, right, people better start getting a grip, right? And I'm talking about people my age too, right? Trans people are not going away. The numbers at Trans Pride, right, are booming. They're booming, not just in Britain, but across the globe, right? There's going to be a culture shift, right? A culture change, right? Especially during this lockdown, people start looking at their lives and say, what kind of life do I want after this lockdown is over? Am I going to go back to the same old, right? Because who am I? And what do I want from life? And for some people, that's a complete change. I mean, and they have this radical acceptance that they're not happy with who they are. So they're exploring and they're on this journey. Yeah. And you know what? You should encourage that. Do you know what I mean? Because this is let's be a lot more kinder to each other. Not everyone's a weirdo. Not everybody is a flipping. Not every person, right, with a penis, I mean, wearing a frock, right? It's a threat to anybody, right? I mean, you don't have to have a frock on to be a danger to anybody. Doesn't matter what your gender is.
But just let's say this, right? On this subject of women-only spaces, which we're talking about changing rooms, we're talking about public toilets and things like that. Now, if a trans woman goes in, she's had the full operation, she's fully transformed, then you have someone who comes in, which has happened. Sorry to laugh, but I'm from another generation. I'm from another generation with a big beard on, airy chest, big muscles, and says, I'm a woman. That hasn't had any surgery or anything at all, just walks in there in a dress, but hasn't made any effort to transition or anything. They've declared themselves to be trans.
Hasn't made any effort?
How does a woman? How are we expecting women to feel comfortable with someone?
Yeah, but like okay, Anne, right?
Yeah.
Come on, we're friends, we're playing, right? Have I made an effort?
Yeah, you have, but I'm talking about, you see people with beards.
How have I made an effort? I've not put any makeup on. All I've done, I've just put a frock on and my hair. Look, my hair's a mess.
But we're not talking about you, are we? We're talking about the scenario. Women, a lot of women will feel very uncomfortable with someone that still presents as a man, may just wear a skirt and a dress, but still presents as male.
Listen, I'm out of courtesy to you, right? Out of courtesy and respect, right? I'm not going to cheapen this and make light of it, right? I understand people's concerns. I understand people's fears. I believe, right, that, and I believe that the statistics will bear me out, right? This is a red herring, right? People do weird stuff. If someone's put a dress on and gone and abused someone, punish them. Don't punish me. I ain't doing that to nobody.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to go and do a wee in a curb, right? Just because I don't want to get beaten up. That's all I'm interested in. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want people hurting me, right? If it means they got to give us our own toilet, do it. But stop. I don't want to be trending for the wrong reasons, right? I'm not trying to take no one's spaces. I'm not. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't interested in being in a woman's jail. Put me in a man's prison. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to go to a women's prison for. They're rubbish.
But you see, the thing is, this is it. It's and I'm glad you said that. Everyone gets slated. Everyone. Yeah. And this is the thing. I remember my mama used to say this. She was a Southern Irish woman. And you know, when the IRA were doing what they were doing during the sets and all that, and she had someone, she'd been working to be all like, and she was in the army for years, my mama, and to be like, oh, you know, look at that. And she'd say, oh, well, next time I'll tell them not to do that. Because she said, I'm the general, I'm the head of the IRA. She'd say, so I'll tell them. And they'd look at her. And she'd say, why are you blaming me? She said, I happened to be born in that country. She said, I left that country when I was 12 and went to Scotland, then joined the army. She said, so why are you blaming me? And that's true. Everyone gets it. And I'm yet to hear any trans woman going on that she menstruates. This big thing that's going on about this menstruation. I haven't heard a trans woman yet going on, I menstruate. And I should have a what is it women have done? See how innocent I am. Innocent I am. Gynecology. I have gynecology checks or whatever to get done. I've never heard of that. But you hear it all over the place that this is what's being done.
What is it you're hearing? What is it? What's the facts of what you're hearing? Because I don't know what the facts are.
There are no facts there. Have you ever heard another trans woman turn around and say she's on a period?
No, but I've heard I've heard someone who was transgender say they were on their period.
So
I've heard trans men say they were on their period, but you know what? I don't know.
Oh, you've made a point there.
Yeah, a trans man.
Well, what I'll do, I'll just edit this bit out and then make out I thought that one up, because that's very intelligent. That I never thought of that. Trans men. Yeah.
But maybe they're intersex. I don't know how intersex stuff works really.
It's intersex very, very complicated. I've tried to explain it on here, and it's just.
I mean, what I'm saying is, there's maybe like intersex maybe covers so many different kind of Do you know what I mean? And once there's not a one size fits all.
When I was 13, I had an period. Nearly killed me. I haven't had one since because they made sure I wouldn't have another one because they said that they would either I'd get cancer or I risk a cancer. But yeah, when I was 13, I did. But
so if you were still living in Richmond, would you vote for me at the next general election?
Not with that hat on, I wouldn't.
Why not?
And you never even bothered making an effort to put makeup on and sparkly things for my interview. No.
Anne. Listen, Anne, my love, right? Let me tell you this, yeah. I'm an authentic person, right?
You've got to wear blue. What you've got to do is a blue twin set and pearls.
No, I'm not a Tory.
With a big blue font. And you've got to talk about the necessity of getting the working class back to work, and you know how you're going to cut taxes for the rich who are needy.
And you're teasing me.
I am. I certainly am.
But Anne, the thing is, I can cover myself in makeup and look like RuPaul, yeah? But that would be a con because that's not who I am. My name is Sarah Jane Baker. It's the name that I choose, not the name that I was given, right? But, you know, I like my life. I like being trans.
That's the main thing.
I think being trans is really cool. I think it's really amazing. And yeah, being trans is hard, you know what I mean? But you know,
can you remember?
It doesn't make my life any more difficult than it is already. Yeah. Just the same stuff that other people's going through. And most people don't care.
But this is another thing as well.
Yeah.
People, do you remember? I can never remember the name. Who was that woman in the late 70s who she was the first one to go on television having the full operation, and she became like a celebrity in the LGBTQI communities before that term existed.
This is the trans woman who wrote the book.
Yeah, not Jennifer. It was something like that.
Yeah, she had the operation done in Morocco. She used to drive around in a convertible.
No, she had done in England. There's one. Someone in the chat might know. Anyway, let me just, because I'm going to get a name, but as I'm getting a name, I'll talk about it. She was the first really big voice for trans women.
We've always been around, even in the Bible.
And she'd say, when people would turn around and say, she'd ask them, why do you want to transition? Why do you want to become a woman? Oh, here she is. And if they turned around and said, because I feel more feminine and all that, said you won't.
Yeah.
Said you'll be exactly the same person, said that you were before you actually transitioned. Yeah. So, and that's the truth.
I am different. The hormones treatment made me different. The castration, and how that affected my mind. That definitely changed my mindset and definitely my outlook on life.
Julia Grant was her name. Julia Grant. I've remembered it now. Julia Grant was the one that was on the television, caused a sensation in the 70s. She went on television. They followed her through a whole 2-year journey. You know, when you said they had to be enrolled for 2 years. And she was also asked about this, about, you know, should you have to go through it? And she was treated really harshly by the doctor. The doctor was horrendous to her. But she said, looking back, she said, I needed that because he was letting me know that this was not going to be any easy task.
No, I know that story. And I was like, Doctor, can I mention the doctor's name? He's retired now.
Yeah, come on.
He was seen as like one of the gatekeepers at the gender identity clinic, Dr. James Barrett, right?
Yeah.
One of the gatekeepers. And like when I did my castration and the prison contacted him or the hospital contacted him, he said, yeah, tell Sarah, don't be a silly cow. Right? But the thing is, like making it being really challenging to say to you know what, this is not easy. Do you know what I mean? If you think this is a walk in the park, you could lose everyone that you care about and everyone you love.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But people, your closest friends will some of your closest friends may turn their back on you because they feel like you cheated them. And like me, I mean, if I pick someone up, right, if I meet someone in a bar, someone picks me up or I pick them up, right, a man or a woman or a non-binary friend or whoever, right, I mean, I'm polyamorous, right? And I just like people, polyamorous, pansexual, whatever, right? I do my thing, right? Nothing I do is illegal, and I respect people's boundaries, right? But the thing is, being trans is amazing, and we're not going nowhere. We're not. We're gonna take more political power. A lot more of us are gonna stand for member of parliament. Do you know what I mean? We're going to do that. We got enough allies. I mean, there's enough.
There is a trans woman in Parliament, isn't there? Labour.
Well,
sure.
See, I don't know. I don't know who is who at the moment. You've got the politician, the Tory, who came out as trans.
There definitely was, because what she did, she said something, didn't she, in Parliament, which caused an absolutely hullabaloo, and she caused great embarrassment because she said in Parliament the fella could sue her for it. She said something, I forget what it was she said, but yeah, I can't remember her name.
I mean, trans women ain't perfect either.
Oh yeah, but
a trans woman politician, who would vote for them?
Well, this is the thing that I want to get into. This thing which doesn't confuse me, but I think it needs something doing to get it all sorted. Medical diagnosis or self-diagnosis, which is the one that should be promoted more? Doctors saying that someone's trans, or people defining themselves?
I'm not sitting on the fence. You can't have one without the other, right? Before you can get a medical diagnosis from a doctor, the person has to first identify. You have to self-identify before you can tell you, like, even before you tell your parents.
Yeah, that's
you can't have one without the other. You can't separate. You can't just separate them. I understand, like all the noise in the press and that, and the stuff that's just trending. I understand that, and I get it, and it's a concern for lots of people that I think I'm hoping that maybe they're just making more out of it than it is. You've got a small vocal group. So I mean, who seem to have a lot of power. They seem to have the ear of politicians and stuff, you know. But this government's not going to last forever. But I mean, but trannies will, man. We rule.
This is the thing. You're right there, Sarah. Because again, how many women who actually go on men in women's spaces saying that they self-identify women as women? How many of them have actually saw a man coming into the toilet saying I'm a woman? I bet
people lie. Do you ever watch House?
No.
Everybody lies, right? Do you know what I mean? When I went fishing the other day, right, and I caught this fish and it was that big. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Just people just like sometimes, right? Sometimes you get people who do this, right? They'll come into a group and they'll say something, outrageous. Like, yeah, this man with a beard come in, tried to touch my kid in the toilet, blah, 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 blah. I mean, just attention seeking, right? And some of these people that we call like TERFs, right? Yeah, call them it, yeah, TERFs, right? A lot of these people who are TERFs are just, they're unwell. A lot of them are unwell too. They got borderline personality disorders, probably.
Well, do you know, talking about this, right? This is another thing which gets right up my nose. It gets. Oh, God's sake, I've forgotten it. What was I going to say? I had an earth-shattering statement to make there that would have changed the future of the world. And it's gone right out of my head as usual. Age is a terrible disease. It is. It's a terrible disease. But yeah, I was going to say something. You said something then. And I was going to say about another aspect of we were talking about that, wasn't we? That how many women had actually seen that happening. Oh yes, bootlickers. Oh, bootlickers. Trans women, and it always seems to be trans women who are kissing up to cis people all the time. And yes, like Rosa Dawn and Blair White. They kiss up to cis people and the bigotries, and they play up to them. And
I don't know. You got to tell me more about this, because this is not something that has come across my radar.
I haven't seen Rosa Dawn for a while, actually. But what is they tend to stick up to kiss up to cis people. Oh yes, and what they do, Rosa Dawn especially, she used to really annoy me. I used to have the odd little argument with her. She'd get a story and there would always be something negative about the trans world, and I'd say, look, right, go for the negative if you can find it. And there are negative stories out there, as you say. There's bad people everywhere in every stratification of society.
Yeah.
But she'd like focus in, and one where I flipped was Stephanie. And I thought, I've had enough here. There was a trans woman in, I don't know, I think it's Canada, called Stephanie, and she caused a huge scandal because she identified as a 6-year-old girl, right? A fully grown parent, identified as a 6-year-old girl.
Adult baby.
Now, this Stephanie, there were no concerns over her safety around children. There's never been any allegations that she's a danger. Yet Rosa Dawn, after 2 years of it going quiet on her, had to resurface it and stir it up again for views. And I said, you're just doing this. I said, you're just causing trouble for trans people.
Mean people. People just being mean for the sake of being mean.
But she's a trans woman as well. And I thought, why you like Blair White? Now, Blair White can say some interesting things. I mean, she can, and there's an important issue as well.
I've never heard one thing, right, that these people have said, The people that I listen to are the people who come out, like, and they are, like, to me, to my heroes, like, even for their faults, like the Monroe, like, Borgdorfs and the Sean Fays. I mean, they're the people that I'm listening to.
Well, Blair White is extremely popular. She's got a massive, huge YouTube presence. Presence. Now, sometimes she does do good work because she outs the predators that are there in, trying to get in, infiltrate, which can happen. And everyone has to be very, very, very wary of that. But it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. It happens in the gay community. With Pie and all this, it happened, and but
Pie. Listen, tell me about that. Is that the paedophile information exchange?
Yeah.
And
that thing,
I've heard a bit about it and its connection to Stonewall.
Well, this is what I mean. Why do you think I don't like Stonewall? One bit. I don't like them one bit, but it's the communities themselves that get rid of them, that get them out the way. But there are some.
I just think And I'm going to encourage every person out there, right, to become more trans, right, or to be at least more queer, right, and to make the world more colourful and make it more lovely and fluffy, right. But that's the beautiful queer people. If you're queer and if you're a queerdo, right, go and be queerdo-ish, like somewhere else, right, and make sure your queerdo is all completely legal. Right.
This is the thing about trans people that I want to say this idea, and I keep on saying this, and they don't like it.
Some of us are weird. I'm really weird. I am, and some people can't deal with the weirdness. Weird people.
Well, it depends. Weirdness is subjective, isn't it? One
I guess
weird.
So.
But TERF, right? What these feminists, radical feminists, forget, and they don't like me reminding them this. Who came up with the concept of gender fluidity? Feminists did. And why did they come up with the concept of gender fluidity? Because they wanted to say that actually having male and female defined roles are a social construct, that there's no difference between the sexes, so that that's so that women could get into politics, women could get the jobs that men do and all this, so that women would be treated on an equal status as men. Now that they've got what they want, and now it's suddenly like, oh, gender fluidity is a bad thing, but they actually created the concept that led on to this idea now of different sexualities, different genders, and it was actually those feminists in the past that came up with gender fluidity. The Germaine Greers and all this came up with this. Now they're whinging because they think that somehow trans women are taking over the world.
Yeah, well, they should be afraid, because we are.
Hey, don't say that. You're going to start a riot. You're going to start...
The thing is, though, this. All right, then, right? Okay, let's presume that the TERFs are right, yeah? And we're trying to invade their spaces, right? with our male privilege, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's presume that's true. If it is true, they should be afraid. They should know that we're not going nowhere. If they believe that to be true, they should know that if they believe that we are just men, do you know what I mean? And we have this male privilege and we have this ability to dominate and like take control, we're part of the patriarchy and everything else, then they should be afraid of us, because it means we got superpowers. Do you know what I mean? We're not just we might not be men, we might not be women. I mean, we might just be like me, identify as a transgender woman. Are women men? I wish that was so, and I would love to have been able to have children. I would have been loved to have been able to breastfeed. You know what I mean? My own child. I think that would have been a really beautiful thing. But for me, but that's just a dream. But who knows what's going to happen in like maybe 100 years time? The world's changing, man.
Oh, it is.
But my generation ain't got no control anymore. Let the young people have a go.
Your friend, he's a big snowflake. They're not even really radical. They just want women's spaces. Now, when you talk with women, and this and not even feminists are concerned about women's spaces, which we fully understand. Of course, they're going to be concerned. But is it a thing that's been blown out of proportion? As I've said, he's a big snowflake. How many women can actually say that's happened? That are panicking about it, that they've actually seen it happen, and they haven't. I absolutely don't think that's unreasonable, which it isn't. For that view, to get labelled TERF, no, TERFs are different. TERFs are really full of hate. I mean, you look at someone, come on, you look at someone like I don't want to keep on mentioning her name, but you look at them. That's because I've forgotten her name, and I don't. Keane, you look at her, J. Keane, right? Kelly J. Keane. You look at her. That's not having balance for you. She's an out and out hater and wants trans women to totally disappear. She says, "Oh no, I've got no what you identify as, but I don't want this, but I don't want that, but I don't want that, but I don't want that, and you're all dangerous to children and all this." When she wants to be looking at her own classification.
I don't think Kelly is a TERF. I don't believe it. I don't believe.
Oh, you think she's past this?
She's making it up, right? It's as fake as anything, right? She's made a fortune from this hatred that she's peddling, right? I bet you in real life, I bet you she's really nice, right? And I bet in real life, you'd go, you know what? Where is? Probably really ill.
No. She's trying to be. She always looks to me like she's trying to be. Who was the last woman that was hanged? Ruth Ellis. She looks like a short ass Ruth Ellis to me, and she doesn't quite pull it off. Here we are. Bobby Crush. I see. Well, I support women and girls spaces, so I support radical feminists. Then
I support radical feminists, but the thing is, TERFs are not radical feminists, right? TERFs, right? They don't love women. They don't care about women. TERFs care about doing a bit of flipping stirring up, right? Yeah. And having a whinge, right? They're just whingers. They're just professional whingers. That's all they're doing. No one's listening. No one of any authority is listening to them, right? And any government that does will be kicked out soon enough.
What was that? Who was that? Have you got a cat?
No. Oh no! I'm sitting on a piano stool.
I think this thing about but I've forgotten what I was going to say. It's if a thought comes to my head and I don't get out immediately, it goes right back out.
Kelly, I said I think she's amazing to someone,
but. No, it's gone. It's gone. It's totally gone. And I know I'm not going to get it back.
The more she hates, the more I'm going to love her. The more J.K. Rowling hates me, the more I'm going to love her, right? I'm going to show that love will conquer all. Do what you want. Say what you want about me.
I don't know with J.K. Rowling. I think she's got a hard kicking that she didn't deserve. I mean, she said some things right, but does it deserve the backlash she got? I don't think she did deserve all.
I think people doxing her was really bad. It was really bad form, right?
Yeah.
yeah, for activists, it was a really cheap shot, right? That's my personal opinion. And if then people want to personally contact me, right, and tell me that I'm wrong, yeah, do it. I'll have a face-to-face with you, right? Yeah, it was wrong. Don't go putting people's addresses and stuff. I thought that was really kind of disgusting, right? Now, the thing is, I don't know. I don't know. Was it Joanne? Joanne, right? Rowling. I don't know why Joanne done that. I have got no idea, right? I've got no idea why she just jumped in. What is it that what is it she wasn't getting from life that she needed to jump in and just stir up this hornet's nest and divide and pretty much kind of divide lots of communities?
I think what I think it also said is she didn't realise the power of her words. I don't think J.K. Rowling, we know that she's a billionaire. We can see all this. But when she's living inside us, she can't see, like none of us can. And we've all been guilty of this. You've opened your mouth, said something that you think is totally and will be forgotten. And next thing, the whole lot comes down on you. And I think that's what happened. But once she got herself there, she had to take a stance from where she was. But I couldn't see anything that she was saying. All right, you could say I don't agree with that, but it was nothing hate as far as I could see, a terrible hate thing. It was just she was talking from how she saw things. And if she does believe that there's a danger there, of course she's got the right to say. She's got the right to say if she wants it. And just let's see this. She's got something to count to do. Now, what I think it is about, now, a transphobe and a TERF when you come up against one, right?
Yeah.
And the specific, it's, and I know when I come, and there's no word for it, what you call someone that's against someone that's intersex, but I get to say that's stupid. They usually think that I'm transgender, they can't work it out. But when someone's just now bigot, because someone can put across, even if someone says to me, right, well, in the Bible it says, you can't be gay or whatever they say.
But Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
That I would object to, because that's just being rude.
Yeah, if people use that a lot.
If they say in the Bible, we're not saying, I agree with, that's their right. That's their right to do that. As long as I say, I've worked in the past with someone I knew was the biggest, right? But he never affected me in my job. Now, that's what mattered. But when it affects you in your job or your livelihood, that's when it becomes bigotry. And saying that people shouldn't exist, I think, like TERFs do. And it's not all feminists get called TERFs, it's only the really bad ones. But anyway, let's start winding this up. Okay. Because it's been on for nearly an hour and a half. So let's see, I want to look at some of the comments. And you're beautiful today. Oh, thank you. Oh, and you're looking gorgeous as usual. Oh, thank you. Oh, and you're so stunningly beautiful. Oh, it's all about me, Sarah, being beautiful as usual.
Absolutely.
I wish. But who's the hippie? I'm a harmless hippie. Don't hate anyone, really. Now, I'd say that Sarah's a modern day hippie. You know, don't you, Sarah?
A modern day hippie.
You're a modern day hippie. You're a modern day flower.
Do you know what? I'm just full of love. J.K. Rowling, I think she's gorgeous. And Kelly, the more they hate me, the more I love them. I think they're gorgeous.
Kelly, it's just like you say,
I can't wait to share a space. I mean, with Kelly and Alison Bailey, we can wash our hands in the sink together and slag men off.
I remember her mate. She has this fella in the next copper. I can't remember his name. It's somewhere on my timeline if you see it. And he called me a three-legged dog because I'm.
All right, and take care of my love. And I'm glad you like my lovely home.
It's beautiful. I might trade places with you sometime. Absolutely gorgeous it is. So, and your boats as well. You've got a boat. Yeah. Here we are. Oh, here we are. Just let's put this up. Thank you, Mrs. Magpie. Though it's in the comments as well. Here's Sarah's YouTube channel, and Sarah's also on Instagram if you want to follow her and vote for the follower. Political journey to get into Parliament. So anyway, Sarah, thank you very much, and we'll speak again.
You're quite welcome, my love.
I've got something planned. Can't say too much now. Where it's going to be a load of us all on debate and debate and debate.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. So take care, darling.
We're going to take over the world. Don't be afraid.
Take care, sweetheart. And everyone in the chat, thank you very, very much for joining us. Bye-bye, darlings. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, people.
Yeah, so sometimes it doesn't end, when it's supposed